Hello you guys, today we're going to be talking about God and science. I wanted to make this video for anyone who struggles to believe in God because they believe in science. I kind of want to explain to you guys how God created science, but I want to go more into detail about that. So one thing that made me think about was rainbows, right? Excuse me guys. So I did some research about rainbows. So I always will look at rainbows, right? And we know that God's promise, he created rainbows as a promise that he would never flood the world again. But one thing I've noticed about rainbows, I was walking home one day and I seen how what someone had their sprinklers on and the light was touching this was shining on the light, and I seen a rainbow, right? So it made me think about how God created, how God knew that that would happen, right? So like our science behind rainbows, God did that, right? So then I went to do some research. I went into study about how rainbows are formed scientifically. So we know, so what I've learned was that the sun has UV light, so I believe I'm saying that right, which has white light. They said white light, and I can't remember the exact color of the actual other light, but it said it had those colors, but white light, and that light reflects, so it refracts into the raindrop, reflects, and then refracts again, forming a rainbow. But we know that God created the sun, and God also knew when he created the sun, you know, God knew, like, he did that. He made it so the sun has those lights. He made it so like the raindrops will be able to refract and reflect and cause that rainbow, right? God did that, you know. And then also, if I was studying about how about it made me also think about the elements, right? How God created the elements. So I wanted to study a little bit about the elements, and I learned that a large fraction of the chemical elements that occur naturally on Earth's surface are essential to the structure and metabolism of living things. So, of these elements are hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen are essential to every living thing. So, we breathe oxygen, right? We cannot breathe. That's how God created it. You know, he created that. God created oxygen. You know what I mean? This is how he wanted it to be. He created it, right? So when we just go into thinking about like God and science, I'm just trying to find, you know, if you're struggling to believe in God because of you believe in science, just know that God created these things. This is how he created it, right? In his wisdom, in his power, in his might, he created science. And I also want to say that sometimes God can go against science, right? Because he is a mighty God. He has power. So when I say he has power, I mean that if God wanted to put a rainbow in the sky with no sun, he could put a rainbow in the sky with no sun because he is God, right? And then I feel like it's also like the spiritual side of it that may, you know, so we know that God can open up the earth. He can swallow people whole to the realm of the dead. Okay, that is a real thing. We know that there are heavenly realms. You know what I mean? So a lot of things that might seem like foolishness or just like foolishness or just foolishness to people, that is really true. Like, so sometimes it might be hard to believe in God because of that, but just know that, you know, yes, God created science. The oxygen that we breathe is how he wanted it to be. But God also is a mighty God, and he also does mighty things that seem like foolishness to that might seem like foolishness to people. You know, me personally, I feel like sometimes, you know, I feel like it can feel like foolishness to some people, but know that God is mighty. Like, so just know that if you struggle to believe in God because of science, know that God created everything how it is today. When we see our wisdom today of how science is, how we know, I don't want to say how we see science, you know, from like, you know, things like the elements and how, you know, the light reflects and refracts to cause a rainbow. God did that, right? You know, but you know, what I would want to say, the Bible says that human wisdom is foolishness to God. And I feel like I can see why he says that, because God can go against science. He can totally do something that goes against all laws of science because he's God, right? He's mighty. But just know that the other part, you just know that God did create those things, but God is also a mighty God, right? But yes, you guys, God bless.